All right, final part of 4.5. This should be a quickie talking about the biology of memory storage and the one things that you should know, things that you should take away from this. And by the end of this, you should definitely know the importance of the hippocampus, the basal ganglia, the cerebellum, the frontal lobe, and the amygdala. So let's do this. Explicit and implicit memories, as well as emotional memories, are stored in different places and created in different places. The hippocampus is the biggie for memory creation. But it's not for memory storage. We do not store memories in our hippocampus. Our hippocampus is kind of like our working memory, our short-term memory. Remember, we talked about in the formation of effortful processing. This is the factory. This is where we're creating and shaping new memories that we then move into our long-term memory. And so the hippocampus does a lot. It's extremely active while we're asleep, especially during REM sleep, because it's consolidating our memories, it's solidifying those, and it's practicing things that we did throughout the day. Frontal lobe is also a big part of memory. This is specifically like the hippocampus. It deals even more with our working memory because, again, our frontal lobe is a lot more of where our consciousness is located. It's where we're actively thinking about things. So it goes to make sense that this is where we are actively working on processing information. The right and the left frontal lobe do process different types of memories. The right brain, is a little bit more spatially aware, does our visual memories, whereas the left brain a little bit more kind of mathematic and scientific. It recalls and holds passwords, so strings of numbers, things like that. Would be your left brain. Implicit memories, these are those automatic memories. They don't use the hippocampus. These are the basal ganglia and the cerebellum. Basal ganglia is in our limbic system, cerebellum in the kind of the hindbrain. Basal ganglia are procedural memories, how to ride a bike, things like that, whereas cerebellum is more classical conditioning associations. We'll talk about that in our next unit a little bit more, but you come to associate clowns with fear because of a really bad run-in you had or a scary movie you watched. That might be stored in the cerebellum, right? It causes bodily reactions so that even if you didn't have, right, if you don't remember why, whenever you see a clown, it's like maybe you would start sweating and getting nervous. You're like, why do I feel this way? Because the cerebellum is housing that. It's not a conscious thought. It's implicit. It's automatic. And then emotional memories, these are stored in the amygdala. Again, the amygdala processes our emotion and our fears. And these help create really, really, really strong memories. The stronger the emotions that you have, and the more likely that it is for you to hold on to it. And the best example of those, and one of these flash bulb memories, these are these like really crystal clear moments of emotional significance, right? Things that happen during your life that you're never going to forget, right? Think about just from this year. Think about the day that we learned that that last day of school we had before we had to go home for COVID. Right, like I remember almost everything about that day. It was a really, really big moment. And even larger scale, like from my own childhood when I was 11 years old, 9/11. That event is something that I remember almost every part of that day. I don't remember any of the other days from the year that I was 11 years old, but I remember everything from that because it's this potent memory that doesn't need to go through rehearsal. It's automatic. It's such a powerful emotional memory connected to our amygdala that it gets automatically put into our long-term memory. So the hippocampus, as we said, is the most important one. Most famously, and where we've learned most of this from, was our boy Henry Malaysian, or HM. Remember, he had his hippocampus, both of them removed for a seizure disorder, and they didn't really know what was going to happen. And what they found was, one, he couldn't remember anything for 11 years before that. And what they learned from that is that it takes 11 years for explicit memories to be put into our long-term memory. The hippocampus is consistently still working on those. So with the hippocampus gone, it had not yet been moved to the outer cortexes. It takes 11 years for long-term memories to be fully created and stored to where they no longer really have to be rehearsed and put into the hippocampus. So what he found was that he could not make new explicit memories as well. That's anterograde, or going forward amnesia. So for the rest of his life, anything that happened, he didn't remember it. He didn't know what he did. But he could, fascinatingly enough, learn new procedural things. They tested him on this ability to like how long it took to trace this star or something like that. Like I think he was looking in a mirror and he had to draw in the star, and they were seeing how long it would take him to do this. And you can see the findings down here in the bottom right. And on that first day, it took him like 30 times. Right, it took him a ton of times, and it took him a long time to get below 10, over 10 different attempts, or how many errors he created, right? Over 10 attempts, how many errors did he happen in doing this? First day, he created a ton of them. Just on the second day, he didn't remember. They were like, hey, do you remember what we did yesterday? No, of course not. He didn't remember anything. But they said, okay, let's try a new task. And he was better at it. On the third day, it took him no time at all. He had like no errors. He did this like a champ. He does not remember learning how to do this. His explicit conscious memories are gone, but his procedural memories are still there. Right? Think about what that means. Right? He could learn a new skill. He could become a tennis player, and then 30 years later, playing tennis every day, they'd be like, "You want to play tennis?" He's like, "Oh, I've never played tennis before." Like, just try it, and he's a tennis champion. Right? Like he could learn those things. He could do that because we get those procedural memories, but not explicit episodic memories. The hippocampus damage can cause us to have struggles with different forms of memories. For instance, left, if we have hippocampus damage, it can cause the inability for us to recall words, right? Verbal information. And right deals with visual designs, images, what things look like, stuff like that. And this hippocampus is broken down into different regions. Some deal with associating names with faces on the right side, spatial mnemonics and memories, also right side, language, more the left side. So hippocampus is broken down. Different parts of the damage do different things. Last term you need to know, long-term potentiation. This is a little bit confusing thing, but what LTP is, or long-term potentiation, is that basically if you use something more, you're more likely to strengthen it, right? Long-term potentiation is really just workouts for our brain, workouts for neural connections. Think about your muscles. If you use them more often, they get strengthened, so that they're creating a stronger set of muscles. Neural networks are the same way. The more that we do this, the more that we create the more that we use the same patterns, we create this long-term potentiation that creates these neural networks. So they studied this through like either blocking long-term potentiation through cutting down the ability of these things to like receive glutamate, different portions of the brain, which is the fuel for the brain. And they found that like the rats weren't able to learn anything, right? But if they gave them LTP enhancers, they found that they were able to do things almost twice as fast. So long-term potentiation is one of those things where there's a lot of research being done into it, and we're trying to figure out if we can use this as a way to like I don't know, develop superhumans, but strengthen the brain, help us to learn information faster, pick up procedures faster, build neural networks faster. It's clearly something that's a long time off, right? We're not just going to like just say, oh, let's figure out what happens. We don't know what happens if we allow people to learn that quickly. Our brains probably aren't evolved to handle that, but it does. If we could soup this up, make it a little bit faster, make it better, then we would be able to create neural networks and basically learn things faster. So connections between neurons, neural networks are built the more that we use them. That is all that we got for the day. Told you it'd be quick. That's it for 4.5. We'll talk about a couple things 4.6 next week, and that's it for the unit. So I will see y'all later.